Perfect. So I'll tell you what is that we're going to do for another 2 hours. So I'm just going to give you a overall idea on amendments that is consolidated for your examination. So we'll look at what are the amendments that you have to prepare. We'll also look at what kind of questions can come from each type of amendments. That's your additional understanding that we're going to do. Like sometimes it's enough to know the concepts relating to an amendment. Sometimes it's important to know some examples on top of it. So our objective is here to give you an overall run on all the amendments that when you're going through your ICA material, like a lot of you must be going through ICA material as well, so you might get a little confused, and I often get a lot of text on my WhatsApp saying, okay sir, like why this provision is different in the material, why this is amended. So there's something called a statutory update that is put forward for this examination. So I'm going to cover everything that is there in your statutory update. Okay, that's the fundamental objective of this particular session. Okay, so we will go chapter by chapter, but there are certain amendments that you cannot really go chapter by chapter. There are certain amendments that you will have to connect every related amendments in all the chapters. Okay, so if you ask me, let me give you a brief on like how the amendments are going to be for May examination. If you look at, you don't have a lot of amendments like November. The reason, November had a lot of amendments. So that's why I'm saying that May is little lesser, but it does not mean you don't have amendments, and they will ask a question. Okay, so whatever 2 hours you're going to spare here, you definitely have a questions coming up. So it's going to be like very important period of time that you're going to spend here. Okay, so without much of a introduction, I'll summarize how you should approach from here towards your examination. I will give you an idea, but without much of a introduction, let me start with explaining all the amendments. So the biggest amendment that you have in your May 24 examination would be amendment on online money game. Okay, so what is that they have amended for online money game? Okay, so what is an online money game? It's the first understanding that you need to have. Okay, so you do have mobile sites where money games are being played, right? What is a classic example for an online money game? Dream 11, perfect. Okay, Dream 11 is online money game. All of us are well aware of Dream 11. A lot of advertisement comes, and it's IPL season, right? So yeah, Rummy Circle, Jungly Rummy. I think a lot of people are here pretty good at these website, is it? Anyway, so you understood what online money gaming is. What is that the provision that we have for online money gaming in GST is the first question that we are trying to address here. Okay, why government is looking at online money game as an industry in terms of GST? Okay, now let me give you some fundamental. Now there has been an amendment from 1st October 2023, and I used to call this amendment as industry killing amendment. We will look at both perspective. On the practical perspective, what is the impact of this amendment, and what is the impact of this amendment with respect to your examination. This amendment has multiple chapters being impacted with the change that they have brought in for online money game. For interlevel, these fundamentals can be put as a question. So you have to be very careful what kind of questions they are going to ask. What is the ultimate objective? We'll try to understand the case here. Okay, well, since you guys have said about Dream 11, we'll take an example for Dream 11 itself. Say, you know how Dream 11 works? Dream 11, used to, before 1st of October 2023, Dream 11 used to do the transaction by collecting a platform fee, and they used to levy GST only on the platform fee. Now, what is the whole idea of Dream 11 collecting platform fee also? I'll explain. Say, before I explain you what is the GST amendment, you need to understand and ask that question: is Dream 11 legal in India? This was a question that was asked some time back in terms of the Supreme Court. There was a question on, is it legal to do a game of chance in India? So they're saying there could be two games. One is a game of chance, another one is a game of skill. And the biggest question that we had is whether Dream 11 is a game of chance or is it a game of skill? Because game of chances like lottery is prohibited in India. So tomorrow you cannot start a lottery, like Kerala government has lottery, but you cannot tomorrow say that okay, I'll start my own private lottery venture and then start selling lottery, because there are states where lottery is prohibited and it's considered to be illegal, right? And there are places where only lottery can be done as an authorized operation of the government, like alcohol and all that. Okay, so we need a licensing for that. Now Dream 11 went to Supreme Court and said, Dream 11, if you have non-Dream 11, what Dream 11 does is that it's a website where you can create a team of 11 people out of 22 people who will be playing a game. Like if you take cricket, you have 22 people playing the game. There will be somebody performing really well for that particular cricket match. Some people might not be performing very well. They'll get out in 0 and things like that. So this particular website, what it does is that it basically lets you create a fantasy team which can include both team members from both of the teams, and each time a team scores a particular run, there will be given a fantasy point, and whichever player of this game created the best team will be given some kind of a gift or some kind of a winning. And Dream 11 said, see, this is not a game of chance. Why? Because they said to create a Dream 11 team, you need some kind of a skill. So there was this question, what do you mean by skill? Now Supreme Court had a lot of argument in terms of what do you mean by skill here. Now at the end, Supreme Court decided that when you say skill, the question is how much of skill is a skill. Now the lawyers finally could convince the Supreme Court to say that a mere skill is enough to call a game as an activity of skill, and it will change from activity of chances to skill by using a mere skill. And you would find, what is a mere skill? Dream 11 says that to know that you need to create a team, you need to know that in cricket there are 11 people. You need to know that who's going to be the captain. You need to predict who will perform well. So you should know what is batsman, what is bowler. All of these kind of understanding is a prerequisite to participate in this particular game. So this should be treated as a game of skill. It should not be treated as a game of chance. Are you guys understanding? Okay. So they won this particular case. What happened? They won this particular case in the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court finally ruled saying a mere skill is enough to call an activity to be a game of skill. And the whole industry is built around this particular point that an activity of mere skill is a game of skill. So sometimes the Supreme Court decisions can create an industry, and this is a perfect example of it. Are you understanding? I worked in a couple of startup clients of mine, and all of them had this particular point being discussed in a lot of meetings that I have been a part of. Okay, now that's why I'm telling you these points. So Dream 11 is today legal because the Supreme Court said Dream 11 is a game of skill, mere skill. That's why if you are somebody who is participating in winnings online, they'll ask you a question before you participating in a winning. Have you noticed? If you go to Amazon, if you go to any of those, spin the wheel or do something online to win something, they'll ask you a question. If you answer that question only, you can get into this particular game. Are you understanding? And that question would be super simple. You would find like, why are they asking such a stupid question? They would put an photo of Amitabh Bachchan there, and then they'll ask you, who is this? Abhishek Bachchan, Shah Rukh Khan, Amir Khan, Salman Khan, and Amitabh Bachchan. So you'll have to choose from this, right? You must have seen a lot of questions like this while playing some game or the other, right? So they're saying they're bypassing the activity being illegal by somebody calling them as game of chances. They said if somebody is choosing or answering this particular question means that there is a skill involved in this particular game. So they can call their activity to be legal. Are you guys understanding this? So we understood the activity of Dream 11 is an activity which is a game of skill, and thereby it will be subject to taxes. Dream 11 is also understanding, okay, I'm providing a service, it's an online game and somebody is going to win, people are putting money, it has to be subject to GST. Now, till the amendment that we had on 1st October 2023, the argument of all these people were there. Okay, you have so many people, like you have already put it on chat box, a lot of people who are providing online games, online money games. So all of them were giving an argument that, see, we are a software company. Dream 11 says what? They are a software company. I'll tell you how Dream 11 winning happens. Say, we'll take a very micro example to give you an overall understanding of it. Say 100 people participate, 100 people are participating in a Dream 11 match, for example. Okay, 100 people are participating in a Dream 11 match. How that match will happen is like this. 100 people will contribute 100 rupees each. Okay, to participate in a Dream 11 match, 100 people are contributing 100 rupees each. So Dream 11 gets how much amount while people participating in a game? Will get 100 people contributing 100 rupees each, means they'll get 10,000 rupees. Dream 11 says, we are an organizer of this particular game. So we are a platform. Because we are doing this as a platform, we will charge them something called as a platform fee. And they're saying platform fee would be 10 rupees. So from each person, even though the entire pool is 10,000, from each person Dream 11 is collecting 10 rupees each into 100, that makes it 1,000 rupees collected by Dream 11. And Dream 11 says that this is my platform fee, I'll pay GST on top of this. This is the argument that Dream 11 has. However, government is saying that no, this argument is not correct. And Dream 11 had a very different model. What they used to do is that they used to keep like the entire amount they used to keep inside an escrow account, like a common account, and they only take the amount belonging to, they only take the amount that is going to be belonging to Dream 11 from that account and say that balance 9,000 I am going to distribute. Balance 9,000 I am going to distribute. Understanding? Among the people who are going to win. And Dream 11 was saying it fair, see, we will charge a GST on top of it. But government says, now you know how government looks into all these industries also. Whenever there is an industry that is booming in India, okay, if you look at the industry of gaming, it's, I think there was a, last time there was an information saying that it's $3-4 billion kind of an industry already. Okay, so that's a huge industry that they're trying to build. In terms of the revenue of these gaming platforms alone, I'm talking about. Okay, not the amount of money that is being put in. That will be huge. Now, the industry, when an industry is growing, government thinks that, hey, I'm a partner in this industry. They're making a lot of money. Let me also make some money. So they'll always put GST on top of the consumption and say that, give us GST as a portion of your revenue. Okay, so a lot of consumption is happening in that industry. That's the thought process. So government looked at it in a very different way than what Dream 11 says. Government says that this activity of somebody participating in a game itself is a supply. So what is the argument of the government? Government says I need to get GST not on this 10 rupees because Dream 11 is collecting how much? 100 from each customer. So the entire 100 should be taxable. Plus this activity will be called as an activity of online money game. There is money involved in it. There is people going to get addicted to it. This is very similar to getting into gambling and betting. And gambling and betting are demerited activities, wherein government levies the maximum rate of taxes of 28%. So this is an online money game, even though they call it as game of chance or they call it as game of skill, is in very similar fashion of betting and gambling. So they wanted to collect GST on the entire 100 rupees. So they had to make all the corresponding changes for that. That is the first amendment that was brought into the industry of online money game on 1st October 2023 onwards. They said service by way of online money gaming is taxable in India at 28% now. Okay. Now the tax rate is now being changed to 28%. So the next question is, if I am saying that this activity is very similar to betting gambling, is there any other way in which we call betting gambling identified in GST? They said betting gambling are called as actionable claims in GST. Betting and gambling is called as actionable claims in GST. Now actionable claims are considered to be goods, not services. Actionable claims are considered to be goods, not services. So even though the activity of online money game looks like a service, for the purpose of GST collection, since betting and gambling are considered to be actionable claims and online money gaming is very similar to betting and gambling, online money game is also called as an actionable claim. And actionable claims are good. So if you go and participate in a Dream 11 website, or go and participate in an MPL website or some website or the other wherein you put money for the purpose of winning money, will be called as supply of goods, being actionable claims. So what is our understanding? Two changes that we have. First one, online money gaming. Online money gaming is today taxable, not the platform fee. Entire money you deposit should be subject to GST. So they are saying this is demerited, and what is the rate of GST that is applicable? The rate of GST is going to be 28%. Okay. Now you can see it on the screen. I have consolidated the provisions for that particular purpose. Now you will find this particular all the notes I have updated already onto the website. So I'll share you the link. I've already put it on the free resources. You have a lot of notes that I have already updated for the purpose of. Okay, you can download it at your end sometime if you want to look at the notes and the colorful charts. Okay, anyway, so what I'm trying to tell you here is that the tax rate of online money gaming is changed. The amount on which tax is going to be levied is also changed, right? Then for this particular purpose, they have made a bunch of changes into the GST law. Now let's look at the examination perspective. The change number one, a definition is added for online game or online money game. They have defined what is online game. They have defined what is online money game. Okay. Now what's the difference between an online game and an online money game? It's drastically different. Online money game is considered to be an actionable claim and will be considered as supply of goods. But online game means what? Your Free Fire, PUBG or whatever games you subscribe and you play. Okay, you take a premium and you play the games, video games. These are still considered to be supply of service, but the activity of you getting into a game and you're putting money with a hope to win some money. Okay, if you're putting money to win some money, that's what you do with Rummy Circle, do with Dream 11, all that will be considered to be online money game. The moment you do online money game, it is considered to be goods. So please note, online games are considered to be supply of service, but online money games is supply of goods. How? Because it is considered to be an actionable claim. Now they have introduced a new definition to actionable claim and said some of those actionable claims, government is putting it into a specific term called as specified actionable claim. They've added a term into the GST law called as specified actionable claim. What is the impact of the word specified actionable claim? What is the impact of specified actionable claim? They said if you're doing an activity of specified actionable claim, that would be considered to be supply of goods and it will be taxable. Now, if you go back to the erstwhile law, like the law that you have already learned before this amendment, it was saying that actionable claims are considered to be goods. But if you look at negative list, what is negative list? Those activities which are not considered as supply, they have a wordings inside that which is called as actionable claims other than 3 actionable claims are excluded from supply. So even though actionable claims are considered to be goods in the GST law, only 3 actionable claims were included as supply and was taxable. What are those? It was betting, gambling, lottery. Government understood some problem with this particular provision. I'll tell you the problem. The problem is that tomorrow there is a chance that somebody in the industry would come and say that their activity is not defined under these 3 and would claim that their activity is not a supply, even though it could be very close to these 3, like casinos, horse racing. What happens in casinos is gambling. What happens in horse racing is also betting. But they'll say that our activity is little different from what is betting as defined. So government made a proper plan to collect more taxes. How? They said, I don't want to specifically exclude anything. I wanted to create a common list for taxable actionable claim. What is a list name called as? It is called a specified actionable claim. They said specified actionable claims are the only taxable actionable claim. And how many more activities are added to that list? 3 more activities, which are casinos, horse racing and online money games. Then they went to negative list and added an additional wordings there also. They made an amendment there also. What is it? In the previous law, they were saying actionable claims other than specific activity like betting, gambling, lottery. Actionable claims other than betting, gambling, lottery. These 3 activities are only supply. Anything other than these 3 will not be a supply. Instead of putting these 3 names there, they now replace that particular word with specified actionable claim. What is the meaning of that? They said any actionable claims other than specified actionable claim will not be considered to be a supply. Actionable claims are included in goods. However, Schedule 3, Para 6 excludes actionable claims other than specified actionable claims from supply. Schedule 3, Para 6. So what is not a supply? We can say unsecured debt is an actionable claim. Debt without a hypothecation or a pledge, okay, that is considered to be an actionable claim. That is still not a supply. Why? Because unsecured debt is not included in specified actionable claim. Tomorrow government identified another activity which can be defined as actionable claim. Government wants to collect taxes, they will bring it under specified actionable claim. Very simple amendment is enough. So just have to change the definition of specified actionable claim, add one more activity, enough. It will become taxable as goods. And because it is goods, they are now having an option to levy maximum taxes. Now the tax rate, if it is an IT service like platform fee is 18%, now they are saying that it is not platform fee that is going to be levied with GST, it is going to be the entire amount you deposit. So Dream 11, you are providing activity of specified actionable claims. Your activity will be considered to be supply of goods under GST, because online money gaming is now under what definition? Goods definition, because it's a specified actionable claim. It looks very absurd, no? Does not look like goods, but they're saying it will be considered to be goods. Are you guys understanding? Okay. Now, what is the benefit that they wanted to get out of that? They said 28% taxes, one benefit. Second benefit, I wanted tax on the entire amount. Now, if I call your activity a service, you would say that my service is only organizing this particular activity and I am charging only platform fee. So I'll get GST only on 10 rupees platform fee that you collect out of 100 rupees that somebody used to participate in a Dream 11 fantasy game. Now I want GST, I want you to collect GST on the entire 100 is my objective. For that only I made all these changes. Now, Are you guys understanding this? Can I have a quick yes on the chat box if this is clear so far, whatever introduction I gave? Now, what is the next impossible kind of a law provision that they have brought in was on the valuation of this. Even though valuation is not part of your syllabus, only the valuation of online money games is part of your syllabus. They have given this in your statutory update. So we'll have to learn that also together with it. What is that they're saying? You have to look at Rule 31B of CGST Valuation Rules 2017. What it says? It says value of supply for online games including money games. They say whether you're computing value for online games as a service like your PUBG, Free Fire, whatever, you pay money to subscribe or pay money to get the get some kind of a privilege, right? People buy costumes inside the online games. They do a lot of things on online games. It's a big industry now. Or you participate in Dream 11 kind of a online game. The value is nothing but the amount deposited. Very interesting provision. When I say amount deposited, it even includes virtual digital asset. What is a virtual digital asset? Give me an example for a virtual digital asset. Cryptocurrency. Very good. Okay, your Bitcoin is a virtual digital asset. It's been defined under Income Tax Act. That is the term. This term virtual digital asset is coined in Income Tax Act. They're saying that the amount deposited, say somebody can deposit tomorrow, can create a online game. Somebody tomorrow can create an online game, and instead of putting money into it, they can put a cryptocurrency into it. If you put cryptocurrency also, value will be the amount you deposited. The corresponding money value of cryptocurrency will be taken. Now, I'll tell you what is even more interesting is the next two notes that I have given here. In above cases, the amount refunded, unutilized or otherwise, shall not be deductible from the value. Oh, that's crazy kind of a provision. They're saying whatever amount refunded will not be deductible from the value. Similarly, amount received by a player by winning the event, utilized for participating in further event without withdrawing will not be treated as the amount deposited and will not be taxable. Okay. We'll try to understand both of this with an example. Shall we? Okay. I'll throw you an example. This is based on an ICA question at the final level. I've created an easier example that an inter-level question can be brought in like. Look at the example. I've given these examples also in a separate example PDF also. You can find it on TaxSchool website on the free resources. You can download that and see multiple examples like this I have created and then uploaded it there. Okay. Mr. Raju deposited 1000 excluding GST into AIM 11, not Dream 11, AIM 11, a gaming website to participate in an IPL based fantasy cricket game online. Mr. Raju utilized 500 out of the amount deposited to participate in game between CSK versus RCB. Mr. Raju won 2000 from the game and used 1000 to participate in another game and lost the entire amount. Answer the following. Number 1, is GST payable on the said transaction? Okay. Then compute what is the GST payable on the transaction. Then what is the money value left in the AIM 11 game wallet for Mr. Raju? I'm also asking you to compute how much money is there in your AIM 11 game wallet of Mr. Raju after this transaction is over. So I've clubbed and created a question like an accounting question, interesting question. So I'm saying that they can ask a question like this to test you on the concept that is being notified here. Okay. First, how much money Raju deposited? I'll tell you the logic also. Okay, why government kept the provision like this. Raju deposited 1000 rupees, and out of this 1000 rupees that is deposited by Raju, AIM 11 will be taking some kind of a platform fee, right? Is this platform fee is the one that AIM 11 has to pay GST on, or on the entire 1000 rupees deposited? They are saying entire 1000 rupees deposited. So how much will be the GST rate that is applicable? It is 28%. Are you guys understanding? So the GST applicable on this would be 28% multiply with 1000, that is 280 rupees. Now you think the moment they have to deposit this particular, if they want to get on the wallet 1000 rupees, how much do they have to deposit? If they want to participate in game and they want to use 1000 rupees wallet balance, I mean like the balance to be there for them to use in the games, they have to deposit 1280 rupees. Very good. 1280 rupees if you deposit only, you will get 1000. Understanding? Okay. Now Dream 11 and all plays your mind by giving a bonus point and all that. But the moment somebody deposit 1280 rupees into Dream 11 website, 280 rupees is collected by government then and there, because your value is the amount deposited and the tax rate is 28%, because the activity of online money game is now called as goods. Then Mr. Raju utilized 500 out of the amount deposited to participate in a game between CSK versus RCB. Now you think, government is very clever here. Government is saying that, see, I am not interested in somebody participating in a game, because in Dream 11 if you look at, maybe there is 1000 crore amount that is deposited in a year by participants to Dream 11 wallet. Out of that, maybe only 700 crores will be 1000 crores deposited by users. Out of that, only 700 crores will be utilized for participating game. 300 is still lying there in people's wallet, and Dream 11 can use this money for their purposes. Comment says that I don't want to wait for them to use all this. The moment they deposit, that's when I collect the taxes. Are you understanding this? 10. Out of this 500 utilized, do they have to pay taxes again? No, because they have already paid taxes when they deposited. Okay, so Raju utilized for 500 and then created a team and then wait for Raju's to win some money. Raju was very lucky. He won how much? 2000 rupees was won by Raju. Raju won 2000 from the game, and out of that he used 1000 to participate in another game, but lost the entire amount. Are you guys with me? Okay. So the amount he deposited is 1000 plus 280 rupees, 1280. Excluding GST, he deposited 1000. Whatever he deposited will be the value, so he has to deposit 1280 to get 1000. Okay. Out of that 500 he used for participating in a game. He won again 2000. Out of that 1000 he again used for participating in a game and then lost the entire amount. Okay. Now how much will be the balance in his wallet? Now let me ask you another question. After winning the game, if he used that winning amount to participate in a new game, whether he needs to pay another GST for 1000 rupees? The answer says no. Let's look at what is that the provision says. The provision says, look at this note here. Amount received by a player by winning an event or competition etc. utilized for participating in further event without withdrawing will not be treated as the amount deposited and will not be taxable. There's a provision like that. So whatever amount after winning you utilize will not be taxable. The amount you deposit will be taxable. When will this be taxable? Say you withdraw this money after paying income tax, TDS and everything. You deposit again. The moment you deposit again, it will become again a amount deposited and it will be subject to GST again. Okay, that's the tricky part of it. Then let's look at the example package. Now I want you to compute what is the balance that is available. Okay, so let's look at this. The statement of Raju in AIM 11 wallet, First he deposited 1000 plus 280, 1280 was there. Out of that, first payment is made by AIM 11 to government, 280. So his balance has become 1000. Out of that, again 500 he used for participating in a game. Okay, so he has again spent 500 rupees out of this valid balance. Then he won 2000 rupees. So 2000 gets added to his valid balance, and he participated in another game for another 1000. So 1000 gets deducted from his wallet, and his wallet balance is at that time when he is again participating, he is not required to pay any GST. So his wallet balance happened to be 1500. Suppose he has withdrawn out of this 1500. Okay, out of this 1500, he still has the amount of 500 from the original money that he has withdrawn. So he decided, okay, I will keep the winning, I will withdraw the original 500. Can he take a deduction on the GST paid? Because he paid GST on 1000, no, but 500 is withdrawing. Will he be allowed to take it as a deduction? No. That is the important point there. So that is the first point. What is the first point says? In the above case, amount refunded, unutilized or otherwise, shall not be deductible from the value. Is it clear? This is the valuation that we have. An interesting set of valuation. Okay, they can ask a question on top of that. It's like that. Now let me recap another amendment on top of this that they have made. Next question would be this. As far as goods are concerned, which section determines the time of supply for goods? Which section determines the time of supply for goods? Section 12 is the section 12 time of supply for goods, section 13 time of supply for services in CGST Act. Section 12 subsection 2 talks about how do you determine time of supply for supplier of goods. What is that the provision says? Okay, time of supply, supplier of goods. The provision says like this. Okay. In time of supply provision, 12 subsection 2 says, time of supply for supplier of goods. Date of invoice or due date of invoice. Right? Very good, very good. Now, here there is a notification which says notification 66/2017, which says date of receipt of payment is omitted, which means even if I receive advances on supply of goods, time of supply will be still determined under date of invoice or due date of invoice. So what is the meaning of this? If you are a supplier of goods, say I am supplying mobile phones. Okay, if I am somebody who is supplying mobile phones, my time of supply would be the month in which I gave an invoice or I delivered the product. In that understanding, is Dream 11 providing supply of goods or supply of services? Dream 11 is providing specified actionable claims. They are online money games. Now, is it SOG or SOS? Can I have a answer on the chat box, everyone? It is considered to be SOG. Then their time of supply should be based on date of invoice or due date of invoice, right? Not the date of depositing the money. Are you understanding? Which means all this provision will fail, no? Government wants to collect taxes when they deposit, but for supply of goods, date of depositing the money, advances are not considered. So, if the government wants to collect taxes at the time a participant or a player of Dream 11 deposit the money to their wallet, they need to make amendment to notification 66/2017 and say that in terms of online money games, if they deposit the money, that date of deposit should be considered to be the time of supply, not date of invoice or date of delivery or removal of goods. Are you understanding? So that fact that date of payment is omitted from time of supply should not be applicable for online money games. They made that change also. That is what you can see it in the point number 5 on our notes that I have put it there. Notification 66/2017 excludes date of receipt of payment from computing time of supply for goods under 12 subsection 2 of CGST Act. However, specified actionable claims are excluded from omission under the notification. Means date of receipt of amount deposited will be the time of supply for online money gaming supplier. So for Dream 11, it is not when they issue invoices they have to pay taxes, it is when the amount is deposited. Are you understanding this? Is it clear? Second, we know that to provide an online money game, to run a website like Rummy Circle or to run a website like a betting website, it is not required that you should be stationed in India and you should be having an office in India. A UK based website can also easily provide access to Indian players and then they can also participating in a betting. Which means, suppose an EPL, English Premier League is quite popular in football in India. Somebody in India wants to participate in a betting site in English Premier League. Government is thinking how they, see now an Indian customer is spending money, but the supplier of online money gaming site is not India. It is a foreign site which is getting the money out of this. Government said, I want GST on that also. Alright. Now, how will the government collect taxes on that is the question. If it's provided by online money gaming is provided by an Indian website, it is charged under FCM, no changes, nothing. It's just that the tax rate is now increased to 28%. You have to pay taxes on the entire amount deposited, not the platform fee collected. But if the online money gaming site is outside India, we have a provision in IGST RCM which says if the supplier is in non-taxable territory and the recipient is located in taxable territory, the recipient in taxable territory has to pay tax under RCM. There is a provision like that. You remember? The supplier is an IT company in US. Recipient is an IT company or a business entity in India. Government says it is easy to collect it from the recipient because the recipient is the one in India. So importation of services, it is the recipient who has to pay tax under RCM. But we have an exception to it. We said if it is an online automated services, which in GST called as OIDAR service, right? What is OIDAR service? Online Information Database Access and Retrieval Service. The classic example would be an online OTT platform like Netflix, who is providing services from US to Indian customer. Or it could be a software which is providing services from outside India to an Indian customer. Or an ebook website like Kindle which could be from outside India providing services to an Indian customer. Here I cannot collect RCM because even though the supplier is outside India, Indian customer is an unregistered person. I cannot ask every Indian customer who is subscribing to a foreign platform to register and pay GST under reverse charge mechanism. Then there's so much of registration that I have to handle. Now the government says that if I don't collect GST, then I'm losing a lot of revenue. What I told you, GST considers themselves to be a partner to these businesses. So they had already made a provision in OIDAR. They defined all of these automated online services as OIDAR. That is detailed studied in final level, not at inter level. We don't have so much of discussion there. But there also they made an amendment which said OIDAR does not include online money game. What is that they have said? Online money game. Today, online money game will be having a separate definition because it is removed from OIDAR. So they put the same provision for OIDAR. What is it? They said they put the same provision for online money gaming like OIDAR. What is the provision that they have given? They said if it's an online money gaming website from outside India, like I gave you an example earlier, a betting site for English Premier League in UK, London, they provide services to an Indian customer, it would be taxable not under RCM but under FCM. Now look at the first one, you can see here. Okay, not just online money game, all specified actionable claim will have this kind of a scenario applicable in terms of the amount deposited is being taxed at a higher rate and all that. Okay. So you have other respective valuation provisions also at final level to learn. Now online money gaming is the one that they're going to ask questions on. What if the online money gaming supplier is an Indian supplier? It is already under FCM, normal provisions are applicable. The change that he will have to go through is now the tax rate is not 18% because he is no longer an IT service provider, he is rather a specified actionable claim provider. He is providing supply of goods. What if the supplier who is providing only an online money game is located in non-taxable territory? Then they said they have introduced an additional section in IGST Act after section 14 which talks about OIDAR. They introduced 14 capital A and they said an online money game supplier outside India will also be liable to pay tax under FCM. So an English website, an England based website which is providing betting to Indian customers, if they want to have Indian customers, they have to register in India and collect taxes from Indian customers on their website and pay that taxes to GST department, which means they need to take compulsory registration under section 24. Okay, then what if they don't have an office in India? It's not necessary that every betting site will have an office in India, right? An online money gaming site might not have an office in India. They said appoint a representative or identify a person to pay taxes in India. If they want to give access for Indian players to participate in their games, online money games, in money games, putting money to win money. If you want to have Indian customers on your website and participate in games, you need to register in India, appoint a person to pay taxes and collect and pay taxes. Otherwise, your website will be blocked. That website will not be accessible in India. IT Act can be invoked and they can block that website. This is the provision that we have. So we have discussed all the peripheral provision that we have in terms of online money gaming. I hope this discussion is clear to all of you. I need one more quick yes on the chat box from everyone if you understood this. Perfect. Now let's move to, that's the biggest amendment that we have that can be tested, and I also gave you an example question. Be careful about that kind of a question that comes in. Okay, so now let's go chapter by chapter and then try to understand what are the amendments that we have in this particular subject for other areas. We understood in supply chapter is where we have the definition of specified actionable claims. It will make an amendment to your schedule 3. Schedule 3 para 6 was saying actionable claims other than betting, gambling, lottery is exempted from GST. Now that is amended and said actionable claims other than specified actionable claims are not a supply. And we understood sometimes they can ask a question on what is specified actionable claim. Okay, so there's a question on the chart. They're asking what is GSTR 5A. GSTR 5A is the return that needs to be monthly submitted. Like OIDAR, these people who are online money games, they'll outside India, they'll have to file a separate return. Okay, that's a normal return. Again, return structure is not part of your syllabus, so let's not put further efforts. Okay. There's a clarificatory circular that we have on supply of food and beverage at cinema halls. Is it considered to be restaurants? We all are movie lovers, right? We go to movies and when we go to movies, what happens? we all wanted to have food there, right? We want to eat popcorns, we wanted to eat something. There are two ways that we book this. Okay, one, today we book a lot of our movie tickets on Book My Show. If you go to Book My Show and book your movie tickets, you have clubbed booking also, wherein they will book your food and beverages as a part of your ticket, like a composite supply. Also, while in the interval you're bored or you're very thrilled by the movie, you will go to the nearest counter and you buy the food and then you have it from there, right? They said the service of giving you food, if it is independent from your movie ticket, will be considered to be a restaurant service. That's a clarification they have. It could be a kiosk that they might have there, okay, an independent, like they'll have a taco chips point, they'll have a popcorn point, they'll have burger joints. Inside all this theater, common area, you'll find all of this. These are all restaurant services. However, if you, okay, look at that. Let's read it now. That's it. Clarification is there over there, but let's read it. You will understand it. Supply of food or beverages in cinema halls is taxable as restaurant service as long as food and beverages are supplied by way of or as a part of service and it is independent of cinema exhibition. If you get food independent of cinema exhibition, it will be considered to be supply of restaurant service. However, where sale of cinema ticket and supply of food and beverages are clubbed together, if they are giving you on one price, 500 rupees you pay, you are getting both food and movie ticket, it would become a composite supply. Then the next question comes in, what is the principal supply? Is it the movie the main supply or the food the main supply? Okay, so they're saying it is not like what that Karik, we have that there was one short film of Karik, right, the Malayalam short film, wherein this guy says like, I wanted to eat popcorn, so I went to the theater. It's not that way generally. It is the principal supply is movie and the ancillary supply would be the food. So what is the principal supply? It will be exhibition of cinema and it would be considered to be a supply of movie exhibition, not restaurant service. So suppose if movie exhibition is taxed at, okay, if the movie exhibition is taxed at 18%, even supply of food together with movie ticket 500 rupees, entire 500 would be subject to GST in the rate of movie ticket. That is what is given here. But I'll read it once again, ensure that you have this understanding, and when the question comes in, it should be given. Okay, there's a question on the chat box. If it says, is it required to, Amal has asked a question, is it required to be supplied at the single rate? Here single rate means the money, the booking has to be together. It is supplied together, which means you are not buying this particular food item as an independent supply. It is not necessary that it has to be clubbed for a single price. There is no no criteria that is mentioned in composite supply wherein it has to be single price, but it has to be a single supply, which means you are not paying separately for both. Are you understanding? So it could come under in conjunction with each other. You go to Book My Show, you add everything and then pay. Okay, then. So where the sale of cinema ticket and supply of food and beverages are clubbed together, such bundled supply satisfy the test of composite supply. Entire supply will attract GST at the rate applicable to service of exhibition of cinema. So PVR itself says that I have food, I have ticket, and this clubbed supply would be like say 500 rupees. Then it would be considered to be 500 rupees for exhibition of cinema. Another small clarification you have in supply chapter, which says clarification on taxability of shares held in a subsidiary company. Now, what is shares as far as GST is concerned? As far as GST is concerned, shares are called as what? Securities. Right? Shares are considered to be securities. Now, I'll give you a summary on how you should treat securities. Okay. What is our summary on securities? This is our summary on securities. In GST, this is how you should treat securities. Disposal of securities, that is sale or purchase of securities, are neither supply of goods nor supply of service. Why? Because securities are considered as not a goods, not services, because goods definition says goods includes three things: every kind of movable property, actionable claims, and growing crops. It excludes two things: it excludes currency, that is money, and securities. So securities are excluded from the definition of goods. Similarly, service is anything other than goods, money, and security. So service and goods, both of them excludes securities. What is excluded? They said disposal of security is excluded. Purchase and sale of security. So somebody holding security is not considered to be a supply at all. However, facilitating transaction in securities, like a stockbroker collecting brokerage, would be treated as a supply of service. Now the brokerage will have to pay GST under FCM. Similarly, there is one more transaction called lending of securities. Say I have 1 lakh shares of Reliance with me. I am a high net worth individual. I want to lend this particular Reliance shares for 6 months to create other instruments as per SEBI scheme. Then I will collect a charge for lending the security for 6 months. It is again considered to be supply of service, but it is taxable under RCM. Okay, so there are three activities. Now question is, subsidiary companies shares are held by holding company, right? Now, is subsidiary companies shares purchased by holding company considered as a supply of service? No, it is disposal of security or purchase or sale of security only. Okay, so buying securities will not be considered to be a supply of services, because it is neither goods nor service. Then why clarification? Because if you look at SAC table, you have a specific entry called as service of holding company to subsidiary company by way of holding shares. There is an entry like that as an activity. So there is a confusion. Hey, there is an SAC code. Just because you have an SAC code for holding securities in a subsidiary company does not mean that it will become a supply. So you have to go with the provision that we have already learned, which is securities disposal. Like securities are neither goods nor services. So holding company holding securities in subsidiary company will not be considered to be a supply of service. Purchase and sale of, now let's read it. Clarification on taxability of shares held in subsidiary company by holding company. Purchase or sale of shares of securities is neither a supply of goods nor a supply of service. The activity of holding shares of subsidiary company by holding company per se cannot be treated as supply of service by holding company to subsidiary company, just because there is a specific entry under SAC. Okay, so it is not subject to GST. Now let's move to the charge chapter and then see what are the provisions that you have for charge chapter, okay, to learn. In charge chapter, we have few amendments that you will have to remember for this particular examination. Now first one is on directors, and I have personally picked during my regular classes that directors is one question that I'm expecting to be there in this examination. My specific pick would be director, because a lot of changes, it has been there in final, a lot of questions, not that many number of questions comes at inter level. Now let's look at, because there is a clarification, it adds up to it. Services supplied by a director in his personal capacity. Services supplied by director of a company or a body corporate to such company or body corporate in his personal or private capacity, such as renting of immobile property, are not taxable under RCM. Only supply of services in the capacity of a director would be taxed under RCM. Now let's quickly recap what is the provision that we have for directors. I'll show you the provision also. Look at this chart here. Very simple, straightforward chart for you to understand. What are the type of directors that we have? In a company, you have, we can say there are two types of directors. There are a lot of names that we can allocate, but for the purpose of the money that is being paid, we can say there are two type of directors. One director would be the one who's receiving salary and works full time for that particular company. Okay, full time directors. These are called as managing director, whole time director, executive director. These are full time people. Then there is one more director called as independent director. These people are not employees. They will not be receiving salary. They will attend board meetings and collect money. First, a managing director, whole time director and executive director have two payments. Okay, one is salary payment, another one is fee payment. Now, question is, why are they getting salary and why are they getting fees? Because they provide services to the company in which they are a director. So, the clarification, the question that we have here is whether it is taxable or not. So, the understanding would be, if it is salary, it will be exempted because it will be considered as not a supply. Not even the term is not even exempted. We say GST will not be applicable because employee providing services to employer in the course of employment is not a supply under para 1 schedule 3 negative list. It's not even a supply. But now you think about managing director. A managing director has two payment coming to him. Say managing director got 1.5 CR. How do you understand how much is salary, how much is not salary? Easiest option is to go look at how did the company make the payment and which section in income tax the company deducted TDS. If the company deducted TDS under 192 of Income Tax Act, what TDS? Income tax TDS. Then we would say this particular company is paying them salary. The moment it is salary, it is not a supply, GST is not payable. If GST is not payable, the question of charge does not arise because the question of charge is asking you who has to pay taxes. If GST itself is not applicable, then there is no question of who has to pay. Then, what if the director is getting a fee for providing a service outside, attending board meetings, consultancy, outside the salary employment contract? Then the company would have deducted TDS under 194J. If there is TDS under 194J, it is a supply. It is a supply and GST is payable. It will be payable under reverse charge mechanism. The company has to pay. Now, independent director, we don't have any confusion because independent director would only receive fees and TDS would anyway be under 194J. And it would be a supply by independent director to the company. GST is payable under RCM. However, suppose we'll take an example of Baiju Ravindran being a director of Think and Learn, Baiju's app. Baiju Ravindran decided he has a 4-floor building in Bangalore, which is a commercial property. He decided he will rent it out at a nominal rate to Baiju's because Baiju's financials are not very good. Now, is this considered to be a service by? It's a service of renting of immobile property. Who provides this service? The director, because director is the owner of this commercial building. Who is the recipient? Recipient is the company. Next question would be, would it be taxed under reverse charge mechanism? The answer is no. Why? Because this is not in the capacity of a director. So, your services for attending board meeting, consultancy in the capacity of director would only be under RCM. This would be under FCM. That's the clarification that we have. Then, we will try to understand what happened with Ministry of Railways. Now, services by Ministry of Railways to any business entity located in taxable territory is now taxable under. Okay, so the services by Ministry of Railways to any business entities located under taxable territories is not now taxable under RCM. Okay. Not now, it is not taxable under RCM. Services by way of renting of immobile property by Ministry of Railways, that Indian Railways, to a person registered under CGST Act is not taxable under RCM. Now, what happened to this? We can summarize it like this. say Indian Railway. Indian Railway, or we can call them as Ministry of Railways. Isn't this a government department? Yes. When government department provides services, this is generally taxable. Services by government is generally taxable or exempted. It is generally taxable only if the recipient is a business entity. Now, the services by government is generally exempted if it is provided to public, right? We can put it like this. However, there are few services provided by certain people that are taxable, like post office services were taxable, vessel and aircraft related services were taxable, transportation was taxable. Now they said Indian Railway, when they provide services, it is now fully taxable. Now fully taxable. Their entire services are taxable, except only one services by them by another entry will be exempted. Only non-AC tickets are exempted. Indian Railways, only non-AC tickets are exempted. When you say taxable, it is taxable under what? It is taxable under FCM. It is fully taxable under FCM. So they said Indian Railway, now your services are all taxable. It is taxable under FCM. Okay, that's the change that you have there. Look at point number 3 was on amendment. It says what? It talks about 9 subsection 5. What is 9 subsection 5? 9 subsection 5 says cases where e-commerce operator has to pay entire taxes, right? How many services are notified under 9.5 for e-commerce operator to pay full taxes? There are 4 services which are notified, wherein they said e-commerce operator, it is you who has to pay the entire taxes when the services are provided through you. One of those services where the entire tax to be paid by e-commerce operator is transportation of passengers. You tell me an e-commerce operator who provides transportation of passengers. Uber, Ola, all of them provides transportation of passengers. So which means if you book an Uber taxi, it is Uber who will pay entire taxes to the government, be it whatever kind of vehicle you're booking. It could be a car, it could be a auto rickshaw, meter taxi, XL vehicle, whatever vehicle you're booking. You do have websites like Redbus also provides transportation services through their platform, right? You book a bus. Even when you book a bus, it is the e-commerce operator who has to pay entire taxes. Every transportation of passengers. However, they made a change there. What is the change? They said omnibuses. When you book a bus, which means the platform that you use would be like Redbus, it would be taxable under 9.5 only if the bus owner is not a company. Say Kallada Travels Private Limited bus, you are booking through Redbus. Whether Redbus will be subject to 9.5? Answer is no. You are booking the bus owned by Golden Travels, owned by Mr. Raju. You are booking a bus which is owned by an individual through Redbus. Who has to pay taxes? The entire tax needs to be paid by Redbus, the e-commerce operator. Now, if Kallada Travels Private Limited, a body corporate or a company, it is the company who has to pay full taxes. E-commerce operator has to do only TCS. They will deduct 1%. That's it. Now let's read it once. Transportation of passengers carried out through an e-commerce operator is broadly covered under 9(5). So when there is transportation, it is broadly covered under 9(5), means the tax is to be paid by e-commerce operator. Entire tax needs to be paid by e-commerce operator. However, when transportation of passengers is through an omnibus owned by a company, will not be covered under 9(5). It will be rather covered under TCS. So whenever you don't have 9(5), e-commerce operator needs to only do TCS. Okay. Is it clear, all of you? If this is clear, can I have a quick yes on the chat box? Okay. I'll give you an example to answer, okay, to get a little more clarity. A customer is booking transportation. It is a car that is booked through Uber. Okay. Case 1. Car owned by individual. Who is liable to pay taxes? E-commerce operator, or it will be Uber. Case 2. Car is owned by a company. Rendell India Private Limited has a Uber taxi. They have 10 Uber taxi. They put multiple people for Uber, and they will have these people to pay taxes. Okay, so they have so many taxis listed. It's a company who's running an Uber. Okay, question to you. Who is liable to pay taxes here? Again, it is Uber. Okay. However, it is not a car. It is a bus booked through an e-commerce operator. Case 1. Bus owned by e-commerce operator. Sorry, bus owned by an individual. Who is liable to pay taxes? Whenever you say e-commerce operator, it is what section that we are quoting? We are quoting 9 subsection 5. If the bus is owned by an individual, who is liable to pay? Again, 9(5) is applicable. It will be the e-commerce operator or the Uber who has to pay taxes. Case number 2. This bus is owned by Kallada Travels Private Limited. Who is liable to pay taxes? It will be Kallada Travels. So GST will be collected by the company. Yes, GST will be collected by e-commerce operator and will be paid to Kallada Travels. Will e-commerce operator pay fully? No. E-commerce operator needs to cut. What is that e-commerce operator will cut? TCS. Yes. So whenever you don't have 9(5) applicable, always TCS is applicable. After on the value 1% TCS should be taken. Here say 18% to be paid. Here 18% to be paid by e-commerce operator. Here only 1% TCS will be paid. The full tax needs to be paid by actual supplier, which is the company. Is it clear? Is it clear? Can I have a yes? Can I go to the next provision? Okay, let's look at place of supply. Now, in place of supply, you have a couple of amendments that we have. Place of supply by default, and including TCS, place of supply, TDS, and your provision on accounts and records. These are new provisions that you have, right? Okay, including 9 subsection 5. So you need to go look at what is this provision that is additionally added to the syllabus. You need to thoroughly read that because they'll ask questions. Now, even place of supply is introduced for the first time into the syllabus, and there is amendment in it. So whatever you read from your ICA material on place of supply is going to be different, slightly different in terms of your understanding. So I'll explain that. Now, you need to first understand, the amendment called 10(1)(ca). You need to understand what is 10 subsection 1a, 10 subsection 1c. Of which act? GST Act. I'll tell you the provision. 10(1)I says, okay, so the thumb rule for place of supply for goods is that follow the goods. Say if I am somebody who's purchasing goods from Tamil Nadu and I am located in Cochin, Kerala, and the goods are coming from Tamil Nadu to Kerala, the place of consumption or place of supply would be Kerala. And location of supplier is in Tamil Nadu, place of supply in Kerala, it should be an IGST bill, Kerala government should get 50% of that consumption. This is the whole idea. Place of supply denotes the place of consumption. Place of consumption gives the 50% revenue to that state. That's overall structure of GST discussion. Now the important question that we have here would be, yeah, it's a destination based taxation system, absolutely. The question we have is, when there is movement of goods, say when there is goods coming from Gujarat to Kerala, place of supply would be Kerala because the goods are, the movement is stopping, it is terminating in Kerala, and that will be considered to be the place of supply. If there is no movement, then from where the goods are delivered would be considered to be the place of supply, right? If somebody in Kerala purchases this, so somebody in Calicut is purchasing the goods from Calicut in Kerala itself, no movement, they just purchased it and then went, then it will be Calicut the place of supply as well. So the provisions were incapable of understanding movement of goods in one case. What is that? Normally when there is movement, your billing address or the shipping address should give me an idea where the movement happens, right? Now when will you have billing address, shipping address in your bill? When the purchase is B2B, which means a registered person is purchasing. The customer's GST number, name, address will be there in the bill so that I can identify there is movement of goods. But what if a final consumer is purchasing and then transporting it to some other state? The final consumers will purchase and will not give the GST number or the name or address. Thereby, there is always an assumption that the location of supplier, like where the goods are delivered, will be considered to be the place of supply. I'll give you the context with an example here. Okay. Now you can remember this clause amendment as chartered accountant because the clause is 10(1)(ca). Now it's a qualified clause. Okay. Now Mr. Raju is a tourist from Chennai. Raju is traveling to Kerala. While going back to Chennai, he stops and he was in Cochin in Kerala. He visited Alappuzha and he visited Munnar and he is going back. While going back, near to the airport, he stopped and he bought banana chips. Assume banana chips are taxable. Now, he bought banana chips and he's going to take this banana chips in the same packet. He's going to take it to Tamil Nadu in Chennai and he's going to consume in Chennai. So, the consumption of these goods happened in Chennai. However, the seller of this banana chips in Cochin airport will not know whether this guy is from Chennai or he's from Rajasthan or he's from Delhi. He's always going to have a CGST, SGST bill. Even though the consumption is his hometown, his home state, the benefit of 50% of GST revenue will go to Kerala state. Are you understanding what I'm trying to communicate here? Because, why? Because there is no movement that is being proved because he's not going to give his address in the bill. So there has been a big ask to the GST department, say that if somebody is traveling outside and he purchases something over the counter and bring it to his home state, how will I ensure that the home state is getting the GST revenue? So they made amendments to this provision and said, even if it's B2C supply, what you can do? If it is over the counter purchase and then the recipient is transporting the goods to his home state, he can give his home state name and the pin code, not the entire address. State name and the pin code is enough. If you give this, then whatever address that you gave it in the invoice, not the delivery place, the address you gave it in the invoice will become the place of supply. So the one in Chennai has come to Cochin, purchased banana chips, gave the address of Chennai with the pin. The place of supply would be Chennai and it will become an interstate supply, and the 50% revenue goes to Tamil Nadu government. This kind of a benefits. What if no address is given? Location of supplier itself would become the place of supply. Let's read it. Goods purchased over the counter in one state and transported to another state by the buyer. A new clause called 10(1)(ca) of IGST Act is inserted, which says place of supply of goods if made to a person other than registered person shall be location as per the address of the said person in the invoice if available, else location of supplier. Are you understanding what I'm saying here? So they'll give you a question. They'll give you a computation question. Okay, now you have IGST Act applicable. So IGST Act section 7, what is interstate supply definition? Location of supplier and place of supplier in two different states. It will become an interstate supply. Now they'll say that Mr. Raju is a supplier of so how many product. In that compulsory question itself they'll put, okay, Mr. Raju supplied product to Mr. Gopal who is from Rajasthan, and he came to Raju's shop. Raju's from say Karnataka. This guy from Rajasthan came to Karnataka, bought something from Raju, and he gave the address of Rajasthan into the bill, and he said he is going to carry this particular product to Rajasthan. Then the place of supply will become Rajasthan. In your computation of auto tax liability, you should treat this as interstate supply. You should give a working note based on this provision. Is it clear, all of you? I need yes from the chat box, guys. I need to confirm that you're getting what I'm saying. Okay. There is one more amendment that we have in the provision, and then one clarification in place of supply chapter. The provision is this. Earlier, what was the place of supply for transportation services? What transportation? Goods transportation service. Goods transportation service, place of supply is determined under section 12 subsection 8. Okay, 12 subsection 8 of what section? IGST Act. Okay, 12 subsection 8 of IGST Act. And it says, if it is B2B or if it is B2C, your place of supply would be different. If it is B2B, your place of supply would become, if it is B2B, your place of supply would become, if it is B2B, place of supply is actually the location of recipient always. If I'm a registered person and I'm receiving some services from another registered person, and the place of supply for my services received would always be my address so that I can take ITC. In terms of it is B2C, which means if the person who is including courier and mails, okay, mail and courier is also included here. Say I'm doing goods transportation. Say I travel to Delhi and I wanted to do a courier from Delhi to Kerala. I handed over the parcel from Delhi to Blue Dart in Delhi. I'm an unregistered person. My place of supply would be where I handed over the product. If it is B2C. Okay, let's look at this. If the supply is B2C, place of supply will be location where the goods are handed over to the transporter. Earlier, there was a provision which said, we give our address, that is irrelevant. This is place of supply provision. It is supply of services. Your transportation bill, okay, the courier charges will be billed as intra-state. Blue Dart in Delhi, you gave the product to Blue Dart. So the place of supply would be Delhi itself, it will be an intra-state supply. From Delhi, I am transporting the goods to US. Earlier, the place of supply used to be the destination of the transportation. They have amended that provision and they said, even if you transport goods anywhere, even if it's outside India, place of supply would be the location of the state where you handed over the product to the courier or the transportation agency. Read it now. Service of transportation of goods including through mail and courier Even if goods are transported outside India, place of supply will still be location where goods are handed over to the transporter when the supply is B2C. But when it is B2B, it would be location of recipient itself. B2B always it's location of recipient. Then advertising contract had a confusion. Okay, so they have given a clarificatory circular. The second one is a circular clarification. First one is a provision amendment. Okay, let's look at what it does. Sale of space on hoarding for advertising. Hoarding or structure erected on the land should be considered as immovable structure or fixtures as it has been embedded in the earth. Provisions of 12.3 shall apply. Place of supply would be location where such hoardings or structure is located. Services provided by vendor to advertisement company by way of hoardings or structure erected to advertise. Here there is no supply of space or right to use the space on hoardings. In this case, place of supply shall be determined in terms of 12.2. It's like a normal advertisement contract. Let me give you some understanding on top of this. It's like this. Say, Kochi Metro. Okay, Kochi Metro is super good at making revenue now by advertisement than the ticket revenue, because every pillar there is an advertisement. Now, Kochi Metro kept this particular pillar and the hoardings on top of it. So it is erected to the land. So this pillar will be considered to be an immovable structure. Assume that there is a company called 0 Degree Advertisement. This company came to Kochi Metro and said, we will take the entire pillar on lease, which means we will take the entire pillar as sale of space. We will take the entire space. So Kochi Metro had an agreement saying that monthly it is 50 lakh that they will collect from 0 Degree, and their contract is what? Their contract is a contract in relation to immovable property, right to use immovable property, sale of space of immovable property. It would be considered to be an item under 12.3. In 12.3 of IGST Act, in place of supply says, how do I determine place of supply if? How do I determine place of supply if? How do I determine place of supply if the service is in relation to immovable property? What is the place of supply? It will be the location of immovable property. So Kochi Metro giving their pillars to an advertisement vendor who has all the space on lease or rent would be considered to be a 12.3 case, and place of supply would be location of the immovable property, that is Kochi. However, suppose a company like say an ice cream company, Camry, wants to put advertisement. Okay, so a company or Naturals ice creams wants to put advertisement. They approach this 0 Degree. They don't go to KMRL directly. They'll go to 0 Degree and say that we want to put advertisement of our company for 3 months. The contract between Natural Ice Cream and the 0 Degree, the vendor and the advertising, the company wants to advertise, will not be considered to be sale of space. It is not a service relating to immovable property. It's a general contract of advertisement. The place of supply will be based on general provision. General provision 12 subsection 2 says, if it is B2B, that is registered person, if Naturals is registered, it's their location. If they are unregistered, if the supplier knows the address, then that. If they don't know the address, it will be the location of supplier itself. I'll give you one example question. There's a final RTP has one question. Zebrex, registered in Delhi, enters into a contract with Shine Limited, an advertising company located and registered in Gurugram, Haryana, to arrange the display of an advertisement of Zebrex's newly launched product on a hoarding placed in Marine Drive, Mumbai, Maharashtra for initial 3 months of the launch of the product. Shine Limited in turn enters into a contract with owner of Seaside Hotel located and registered in Marine Drive, Mumbai, Maharashtra for display of the advertisement on a hoarding placed in the lawn of the hotel. What will be the place of supply of services provided in the given case? So they're saying there will be 2 contracts here. Okay. First one, Zebrex is like the natural ice cream. Okay. they are getting services from Shine, the advertising company, the 0 degree, the advertising company. That will be under 12 subsection 2. It will be place of supply would be the location where the company is registered, location of recipient. Here the recipient is registered in Delhi. So supplier is in Gurugram, recipient is in Delhi, 2 different states, it will be an interstate supply. However, this particular advertising company Shine went to a hotel and said, we will take one of your space. That contract would be considered to be a contract of immovable property. So this seaside hotel giving their hotel space to display advertisement would be renting of immovable property, and that place of supply would actually be location of immovable property. That supplier is seaside hotel in Mumbai, place of supply would become in Mumbai, so it will become an intrastate supply. That's the understanding they are putting by that circular clarification. Now there are very small exemptions in very small amendments in exemption. It says satellite launch services in the past was exempted only it was given by specific organizations like Antrix Corporation and ISRO and all that. Now they said it's common. The exemption is now available to everybody who's providing satellite launch services will get exemption. Then I've already told you this, Indian Railway services except transportation is none of them other than that will be now exempted. It's all taxable. Then there is a new exemption available for services provided to governmental authority. Governmental authority is an entity constituted by government where 90% or more equity or control is with government. For what? For 243G, 243W functions of the government. Okay. 243G, 243W functions of the government. If a third party give services to them to help them in terms of 243GW function. Some of those functions are listed there. If I am a third party, an individual who is providing services of water supply, public health related services, sanitation conservancy, waste management services, slum improvement upgradation services to a governmental authority will be exempted. This is an additional exemption that is available. Then next is registration. What is the exemption that is, what is the amendment that is available in registration? Number 1, Aadhaar authentication, except 6 people. Okay, except 6 people, we used to call them as LDS cup in classes to remember. Local authority, department or establishment of government, statutory bodies, who is not a citizen of India, who is having unique identity number, public sector undertaking. Except these people, everyone else has to do Aadhaar authentication. While doing Aadhaar authentication, if you don't do Aadhaar authentication, the cases of Aadhaar authentication, people who are not doing Aadhaar authentication, people who are not doing Aadhaar authentication will get GST registration only if the officer visits the location of the recipient. Okay, person not doing Aadhaar authentication, not Aadhaar authentication, person not doing Aadhaar authentication, then the officer has to visit the space. Okay, so if you don't do Aadhaar authentication while taking GST registration, the officer will visit your space and then only give you registration. Earlier there was a provision saying that you have to be there physically present. Say for example, a guy from Delhi is taking a registration in Chennai. He has to take a flight and come to Chennai and physically be there while the officer is doing physical verification. That is, that requirement is taken out. Okay, then this is an important one. There can be question on that. Person supplying goods through e-commerce operator liable for TCS need not obtain compulsory registration. Person supplying goods through e-commerce operator. Classic example could be a supplier of mobile phone in Amazon or supplier of bags in Amazon. Somebody wants to register in Amazon and then supply through Amazon. Okay, Amazon is an e-commerce operator. Amazon is liable for TCS under section 52. Earlier, these people who supply through Amazon's or whoever is liable for TCS had to take compulsory registration. They said no need, because government had made compulsory registration applicable for people who are selling through Amazon, not buying, selling. Like a lot of sellers who can register in Amazon and sell, right? These people who are selling through Amazon had to take compulsory registration. That requirement is taken out. Why? Now they said, hey Amazon, unregistered people can sell cheaper because they don't have GST implication on their price. Now I want to let people who are not registered also supply through these e-commerce platforms who are liable for TCS. What they have to do, they have to have a PAN. They need to go take something called as enrollment number, not GST number. They don't need to charge a GST only. They can take an enrollment number and they can supply through e-commerce operator. The only thing e-commerce operator has to ensure is they are not making any interstate supply. Okay, that's the provision. Let's read it. Person supplying goods through e-commerce operator earlier liable for compulsory registration need not obtain compulsory registration now, provided e-commerce operator restrict them from making interstate supply, and such person supplying goods through e-commerce operator obtains a enrollment number from GST portal and needs to have a PAN. Then somebody whose GST number is cancelled, he can apply for revocation. The time limit is updated. Earlier the time limit used to be 30 days by yourself. You could apply by within 30 days. That is gone. You can apply within 90 days from order of cancellation. After you get order of cancellation, you get 90 days to apply revocation. Now not just 90 days plus another 180 days if you get an approval from commissioner, assistant commissioner, joint commissioner, etc. So in total, now even after cancellation, within 270 days, you can apply for revocation to cancel the cancellation, which means to ask them to reinstate your registration number, you can apply. Similarly, Rule 10A is updated. What is Rule 10A? Bank account details to be submitted. Earlier, bank account, see, you can register in GST without having a bank account. You can register in GST without having a bank account. But bank account details can be submitted later. Within how many days? The provisions used to be 45 days and 3B date, whichever is earlier. Now that is updated, and they said bank account details can be submitted within 30 days of registration or due date of return under section 37, that is GSTR1, whichever is earlier. I'll show you an example to understand this. Look at this example on the screen. Mr. Raju obtained registration on 2nd January without giving bank account details. When should he give the bank account details? He has to give it within 30 days. So 2nd January plus 30 days would be 29 days in January, one more day in February, 1st February, or January month is the first GSTR1 he has to submit. He has to submit on or before 11th of February, whichever is earlier, 1st February. You have to give bank account details before 1st February. This is what is given in Rule 10A. If you don't satisfy this, the officer can take your registration for cancellation. Your registration will get suspended. There are additional provision added to it. Suppose you took the registration on 20th of January, which means 30 days will end on 19th of February, or what is the due date of filing GSTR1 for January? That is 11th of February. The earlier date would be 11th of February. Understanding? Let's look at what is the amendments that you have in tax invoice, credit and debit note. They said e-invoices, the requirement for B2B supplies. E-invoice is applicable for what supply? B2B supply. If your turnover has in any financial year, okay, any financial year from 17-18, if it is more than 5 crore, such registered person will be liable for e-invoice provisions under GST. Okay, invoice means every B2B invoices you have to upload to invoice registration portal, get an invoice registration number and then give it to the customer. What customer? Registered customer. To have this particular thing applicable, you need to ensure that to have this particular thing applicable, you need to ensure that any of your turnover from 17, 18 financial year onwards, if any year it exceeds 5 CR, this can be asked as a question. It used to be 10, it's an update. Okay. Then e-invoicing requirement is not e-invoicing applicable requirement for, see, first of all, there can be two questions on invoicing requirement. Say whether governments who are having registration has to satisfy with e-invoicing requirements. They said no. However, if you give a bill to government department who are having a GST number to do TDS, they will be considered to be a registered person as a recipient. So, if I am registered, if I supply to a person who has a TDS registration, will be considered B2B for invoices. I have to do an invoice. Then, look at the amendments for payment of taxes. It talks about how do I understand the interest provisions under GST. Okay, I will give you further understanding on interest provisions. I will give you a fundamental approach. You will understand the whole thing. 53 says in GST, the interest for ITC wrongly availed and utilized is not 18%, it can be 24%. Currently notified is 18%, but it can be up to 24%. Now look at my summary notes here. I have explained the whole thing in an order. Again, all of these have been uploaded on the free resources. You can go and then access these files also. Concept of availed and utilized under 53. Interest under section 53 for wrongly availed and utilized ITC. What do you mean wrongly availed utilized ITC? I did not have the invoice, but I took ITC. It was a blocked credit, I took ITC. These are called as wrongly availed and utilized ITC. Interest can be up to 24%. Current notified rate is only 18% per annum. Okay, luckily for interest, even if you have tax delay or even if you have taken wrong ITC, currently you apply 18%, but it can be up to 24%. Then the question comes in, what do you mean by ITC availed and utilized? What if you avail the ITC, did not utilize? You have to just reverse the ITC, no need to pay any interest. Step number 1, how do you check whether I have utilized ITC or not? Check step number 1, check ITC wrongly availed. How much is the ITC wrongly availed? Say it's 1 lakh rupees. Check the balance in electronic credit ledger after 3B for the respective month. You look at after filing 3B, how much balance is there in your electronic credit ledger. If the balance in electronic credit ledger is more than or equal to ITC wrongly availed, we assume it is not utilized. If balance in electronic credit ledger is less than the ITC availed, we assume it to be utilized. Look at this. I am giving an example also for that. Mr. Raju wrongly availed ITC of 1 lakh in January. After filing 3B for January, I looked at what is the balance in his electronic credit ledger. I have given you 4 scenarios of the balances. First, the balance is 5 lakh. Wrongly taken ITC is 1 lakh. Even after all set off, still I have 5 lakh, which means I did not utilize it. So that 5 lakh includes this 1 lakh wrong one. I just have to reverse it. That's it. No interest. Second case, the balance after all the returns being filed is 1 lakh itself. My wrongly taken ITC is 1 lakh. I still have 1 lakh in my electronic credit ledger. Again, I'll assume not utilized. After utilizing, my balance is 0, which means that I have utilized the entire 1 lakh wrong credit. Now I have to reverse with an interest. Balance in electronic credit ledger is 50,000. My wrongly taken ITC is 1 lakh, which means 50,000 I have utilized. On 50,000, interest is applicable. Balance 50,000, I have to just reverse. How do I compute interest? From the date of utilization, when did I utilize, not avail, when did I set off against my liability, from that date till when did I repay it back, till that date I have to pay interest only on the amount utilized. Then there was a question, do I have to check how much is the wrong ITC of one GST to the respective GST? Say for example, I had an interstate purchase of motor vehicle, like car I purchased. I had a GST paid of 2 lakh on the car. Okay. IGST. car is a blocked credit. I'm not supposed to take ITC. I took ITC. Now, if you have an IGST credit, you will utilize first. Now, the manner of utilization of credit says IGST should be first set off against IGST, then against EGST, SGST in any order, but only after IGST credit is fully over, you can go for other credit. Right? Now, if you were saying that IGST credit is the first credit that I have to set off, you will always have zero balance in your IGST credit ledger. Now, that's it. Then whenever you compare IGST wrongly taken to IGST credit ledger, you will always have IGST credit ledger 0. So, they have given a relaxation there. They said the IGST wrongly availed, you can compare it with IGST wrongly availed, you can compare it with the sum of CGST, SGST, IGST put together, because IGST you will first utilize ever. Understanding? That is another clarification that we have. If wrongly availed ITC was IGST, to identify whether it is utilized, we will compare wrongly taken IGST with the total of all the credit balances. Suppose you are wrongly taken IGST of 2 lakh. IGST credit balance is 0. But CGST credit balance is 2 lakh, SGST credit balance is 2 lakh. So, total would be 4 lakh, which means you have not utilized yet. Are you guys understanding this? Can I have a quick yes if this is clear to all of you? Now, these are the major amendments, but I would also like to tell you that when you are preparing for this exam, you will have to ensure that you are not just preparing the amendments for this examination, you are also preparing the amendments for last examination. If you look at the theory question, you generally have the theory question from one RTP prior being tested in this. Are you understanding? So, ensure that you look at the previous ones also. Okay, so look at one attempt before, what are the amendments that we had. That also is going to be important for you to look at. Okay. Now, what is that you have to do on the top of these amendments? You have to look at RTP and MTP. Okay, so working out is very important for you. Now, nothing to worry, I have not done RTP, but I am doing another session for another Sikasa. So, I have kept it like 2. I wanted to ensure that I am here for Calicut. All my folks are here, all my chams are here. They are now in the committee and all that. I am extremely happy for people who have conducted this, but I wanted to discuss RTP, MTP, which I'll do tomorrow morning. Okay, so I have another session that's happening. I'll put out the details on my website. I'll put it on my social media. You can access that if you want to, or you can ask Calicut guys, they'll give you. Okay, so if you have any doubts on whatever we discussed or whatever on the GST for your examination, I will be available to answer all that. So I have a dedicated WhatsApp number. You can see it on the screen. You can reach out to me, send it. When I'm very busy with classes, it might take 1 or 2 days for me to reply, but please introduce yourself so that I save a number, and whatever help that you require will be available, including I'm going to do a marathon on the day. So now you have the gaps, right? So I'll do a marathon before the examination.